Another aspect of cities goes beyond their location or size or function to consider their interior spatial structures. What are the parts of cities? Who decides these things? And further, what is their relationship to one another? The relation of one district of a city to another district of a city. A critical term in understanding this is land use, which has a lot to do with accessibility, one of the 5 key terms in human geography. In the early years of urban geography, about 100 years ago, the downtown of a city was the area with the highest land use value, attracting shoppers and then nearby factories with accompanying housing for workers at the factories. A lot of people walk to work. Cedar Rapids is a good example of this, with Quaker Oats and Penford downtown near the shopping district. The shopping district used to have 2 major department stores, but those stores are now in the outlying malls. Much of the industrial base has also moved to outlying areas not far from the malls, particularly on the south side of town. Another area of study is neighborhoods. Many neighborhood organizations have sprung up as a way for people to communicate with one another and with city or state officials about what is happening in their neighborhoods. A lot of the neighborhood organizations have very close contact with police, for instance. Sometimes there are twin cities, famously St. Paul and Minneapolis, Minnesota. In Iowa, these twins are small cities such as Waterloo and Cedar Falls, or Lisbon and Mount Vernon, or Humboldt and Dakota City north of Fort Dodge. They are usually cities of different characters side by side. Lisbon is a blue-collar city, while Mount Vernon is a college town. Humboldt is a wealthy city north of Fort Dodge, as I said, while Dakota City is the county seat, but much poorer. Cedar Falls is a university town. Waterloo is an industrial town. Now, Iowa has the unique Quad Cities, with 2 cities on the Iowa side and 2 on the Illinois side, with several smaller suburbs adjoining the 4 major ones. Metropolises are core cities with adjoining layers of suburbs, and sometimes many layers, 3, 4, 5. Megalopolises, I love the word, are major cities whose suburbs have grown together. On the East Coast, this growth joins cities from Washington, D.C. to New York and practically to Boston. In Iowa, we have some mini megalopolises, such as Iowa City to Cedar Rapids or Des Moines to Ames, 30-mile stretches with several towns or small cities in between, and then other cities on the other far side of Iowa City or the far side of Cedar Rapids. What's the future for Iowa? A year ago, I would have focused on floods as they destroyed cities, broke down dams, flooded, inundated farming areas. Now, in the summer of 2012, I'm more concerned with drought. What will you be concerned with in the winter and the spring of 2013? Well, you tell me. We'll all know something more by then. At any rate, extremes of climate are affecting us one way and then the other. Another major factor is the impact of information technology. This is important in every topic I've brought up so far. It's important in cultures, important in languages, economies, politics, urban life, and structures. And as I said early on, information is the most easily transferable thing there is. However, accuracy in information is not guaranteed. Rumors can fly, but they can also be squelched. I'm sure there are very many current examples which I can't even imagine today when I'm talking in the middle of August in 2012 that you would know about then. This very course is an example of information technology as we are flipping the classroom. So you can see the PowerPoints and hear my lecture before we actually meet so that we can spend time in the meeting online with questions. An important part of this is your research. It is an unusual course because you have a living laboratory all around you. You are actually in the laboratory as a researcher and a subject of your research. Think of the world you are in as actual in several ways. It is real, it is there, you can knock on it and bump up against it. We perceive the world. We have images and memories of it in mind. We may examine the world using concepts and terms to define it and measure it in a variety of ways. And we experience the world by walking through it, driving through it, letting it touch us with its sun, its wind, its rain and snow, drizzle and fog. The world shapes us as we shape it. Ultimately, we need to ask the question, how do we know what we know? How did we get the information that we depend on? Is it true? Is it real? Is what we think we know for sure real? How can we be deceived? How do we deceive ourselves? How can we detect deception? How can we get beyond that to know the truth? And this is what we should aim for in our research into some aspect of life in Iowa. So this is the end of this particular lecture, and we'll go on to consider some other things next time, particularly the expansion of settlement in Iowa.